Hi guys, welcome back. Just me and Laurie here. She could be having her sandwiches in Canada, so we won't get her to go on. Do you have any questions first, Laurie? Or
Yeah, I do have one. Just as you know, I've
yeah,
been dealing with this hamstring tendinopathy and I've been away
yes,
for a while, so I haven't been able to see a physio much. But I'm back home now, finally. So
yeah,
I was thinking
brilliant.
of going in to see my local physio. I'm just wondering if you think there's any good research behind any of the modalities like ultrasound or um, laser for this kind of injury, or am I just better off doing my own strength stuff and my own
There isn't,
off
but
ball?
look, there isn't great research behind the things, but I think sometimes like the research is it's hard to do. It's hard to isolate. It's hard to isolate things, and then different people have different responses. So like research related to pain and function is like a lot of times you'll have physios like they're like, oh, there's no research in that, or there's no research in this. Like I have a PhD, so I have like, I don't know, 8 publications or something. Um, but I think sometimes when you know research, you know how hard it is to isolate that to have like a very
Yeah.
controlled trial, and then people have
Yeah,
such
nutrition research is the same.
yeah. Well, then you know, if someone's like, oh, there's not research on that. It's like, yeah, but tell me how to run that study. So there isn't much research on a lot of things to show effectiveness, like ultrasound. Some people would go for not laser, they go for shockwave. It's quite
Yep.
aggressive
Yeah.
on the
I've had
tendon.
shockwave on my feet for plantar, but I've never had it done for hamstring
Yeah,
tendinopathy.
that would be they and you could do ultrasound. I think sometimes it's the best to like try these things. Same with like dry needling might like release off. What I find with some of the modalities, especially when it's been caught for a while, is you're nearly looking at that like neurological reset. And I'm probably using the wrong word, but sometimes like things are in spasm or things are like caught in a certain way. And even if it's not doing what it says, it's nearly giving it like the nervous system like a chance to relax and let things kind of ease out. I find that's like a lot of the modalities, like your manipulations, your yeah, all your modalities essentially. I feel like it's giving the nervous system time to relax off and release, and then in that kind of window when things are a bit easier, the strength training stuff that does have better long-term effects is more effective.
Right, right. Yeah, well, I
Now,
find
I'm a
one thing
physio
I
though, so
yeah.
I'm very like it's
One
like
of the things I
asking a
did
butcher, should I go vegan?
yeah. I have one of those percussion massagers, like a hypervolt.
Oh yes.
Um, and I was using that and it seems to have been helping. I don't know if
Yeah, like
it's
yeah, I think a lot of it is individual preference. Like as I said, sometimes there's a good few guys out there and they'll like highlight research being lacking in certain areas, but it's like sometimes that research is so hard to do because people are so varied. Like they're like things that you think are just quite obvious, even like technique being good or poor being related to injury. Now, I did a study that kind of showed it does have about a 30% increase, but it's hard to actually, everybody's different. Like you could have someone who's moving crap, but like they're just strong and they're
right.
more resilient. And then you could have someone who, within a couple of bad movements, they do their back, but it's hard to like grab them all into a group. So it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same with the modalities as well. I feel like I use my individual preference a lot more on that, um,
Right.
and see what ones work. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. But I definitely would give it a go and see. But I also have the like 3 session rule. And if people come to me for physio, it's like after 3 sessions, you should know you're either you don't have to be healed, but you want to be on the lines of like, we're getting a lot better. Um,
Right.
if they're telling you like 6, 10, 12, and it's like, I'm no better. And it's like, no, I feel like I like manipulation as well, but some chiropractors are terrible for that. Like just these like
Yeah.
12, 24 session kind of things. And it's like, come
Yeah.
on, like you should be seeing improvements and they should be kind of staying after about 3 sessions.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Okay,
Good.
we've got 2 questions. My brother-in-law is after breaking his elbow, so we'll keep this about a half an hour because we said we'd go out to see him. Um, he got the surgery. So first question, I'm going to start with the second question here. I'm happy enough with my overall running form. One part I'm wondering about is the Correct way to place your arms. I find my arms naturally drop down rather than having them tight against my body with the elbows going back and forwards. Any pics from races? Pictures from races never look good. I find that myself even. They're hanging down in front of me. Should I try fix this or is it okay? I've attached a picture. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. But
I can
yeah,
see it.
one perfect. Okay. Laurie's one of the OGs, so she's heard all these spiels a few times. But we always, it's as I say to my wife, I keep the same old stories. I try to get new audiences for them. So one thing I'd say here is the first thing, right, is what's going on, just so you kind of get an idea. Is sometimes we're going to go wider with our arms because our core isn't like stable. So like to counter, if I go far this way, if I go out this way, do you know if you've ever like carrying shopping, if you had shopping in this hand, you'll nearly naturally have this other arm out because your body's trying to balance it. And the same, if I'm running and like I feel like I'm going to be turning a lot, like I'm moving, I'll go a little bit wider with my arms because it'll give me that balance. And the best analogy I can think of at the time is if you're holding a bag this side, your other arm will naturally come out. So when people have it, it's generally like a core kind of thing. They'll have their arms, or when they're not able to move their arms a lot, again, they're nearly trying to help hold the core. So like that's like instinctively what's happening there, I imagine. The core is probably a little bit weaker, so the arms go out. Now, will that change massively even if you get your core stronger? Not really. Like you probably have the way you run. And again, what we're not going to do is change your running style. Okay, I give good analogies all the time. I usually give the one about the guy who tried run on his toes and then had double Achilles tendon surgery and never really ran again. I'll give one example for myself, right? I have this like flick of my wrist when I was running fast. So I go like that essentially. So it'd be lower down, but it'd be like, can you believe I do my own camera work? Right. So it would flick just on this hand and this hand would come up. So that one was, as I go, just kind of flick and come up. I thought it looked strange, to be fair, and more out of like feeling it looked strange. Or one time someone said it to me, and I was like, yeah, it's like, what are you doing with your wrist? It's like, I don't know. It's just like always, I'd flick it that way. So what I tried to do was like hold it so that both sides were running the exact same. But there was obvious some like restriction in my shoulder that I just, to get that last little bit, rather than come back at the shoulder, I just like flick at the wrist to get that momentum. Okay, so I hold my wrist tight, which you're able to do, and start running like that. And my shoulder starts getting sore after like a few weeks. So why I'm saying that story is I always think we're running the way we run because our body perceives that as the most effective way. Now, a lot of times it will be the most effective way. So just trying to change, like you trying to have your arms in closer, I'd say you'd like slow down because like you would probably rock and roll a little bit more through your core. That'd be my biomechanical best guess of why you're doing that. As opposed to it just like, oh, my arms are out to the side, I'll just bring them in and there's no issue. So like same when I change the flick on my wrist, my shoulder starts getting sore. I'm probably flicking my wrist because I just don't have that last bit of range of motion. So it's easy to try balance up the other side. I kind of move to the wrist and then I'm getting that momentum probably. So I just went back to that and the shoulder pain went. Okay, so but that being said, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't improve our running style. Like running economy is like one of three things that we can actually affect. But what we need to look at is we need to look at mobility, stability, and motor control. Okay, so the mobility, when you're trying to improve it, so there's three areas that work with mobility. Now I don't think yours is a mobility issue. We thought it was a core stability issue. So I'll come to that in a second, but you start with mobility. There's a thing called a joint by joint approach. So basically, every second joint in the body should be primarily mobile or stable. So your ankle should be mobile. You can rotate it anywhere. The knee is a hinge joint. It should only flex and extend. Then the hip is a ball and socket joint. That's where our rotation, that's where our movement should be. Our lower back should be stable. Our thoracic spine, that's where all the rotation should be coming from when we're moving through the back, or the flexing. That's the kind of moving element. The lower part of the neck should be pretty stable. The top two vertebrae should be mobile. The shoulder blade is stable. The shoulder joint is mobile. So if you're looking then to where you might need increased mobility, you're looking at the ankle, the hip, the upper back. You know, you're not shoulder maybe. So you're not going to get wrong. So like one you can do is just bring your two arms up. Can you touch the wall behind you without your back arching? Excuse me. You know, can you do that world's greatest stretch? Can you bring your knee to the wall? So if you're in a half kneeling position, maybe like 3 inches out from the wall, can you bring your knee, both knees to the wall on both sides? Just to see if there's any range of motion issues at the ankle, any range of motion issues at the hip, upper back. Okay, and if you see any of our mobility videos, that's where we're focusing on. We do a lot of, like, we basically do the hip, we basically do that world's greatest stretch hip opener like every day, every class to start with. We'll do a little bit more like ankle range of motion, or there's a few drills to do in there. Then we will do, let's mute you for a second. Then we will do like range of motion upper back. You can do like the butterfly ones, wall angels, looking at the range of motion. Okay, so if it's, and again, say for some people, if they're tight, they're running, they're like, I'm really restricted, I'd be looking at improving range of motion at the ankle, improve range of motion at the hip and the upper back, and see if that makes you less tight when you're running, as opposed to trying to just increase the length of your stride. So that's the first thing. We're looking at giving these building blocks. And the first building block is mobility. What things cause mobility to be an issue? Well, the first one is, I don't know if you can hear that. I think my wife is beating the crap out of a piece of chicken downstairs with a with a rolling pin.
Can't hear it. You're
That's grand, yeah. All right, or that, or she's just taking on. We're doing an extension, and maybe she just started herself downstairs. She's getting sick of all the back and forth with the architect, so it's one of those two. Okay, so 3 things that you improve. One is the joint. If you're doing joint mobility, just move through the range 30 times. So just if you're drawing the numbers up and down, you want to kind of move the joint 30 times. Second can be static stretching, because the muscle itself is tight. We have our meditative stretching there. I find them very effective, but you're holding for like 5 minutes, from at least 2 minutes to 5 minutes for those stretches. So we have in our programs in the mobility section, you'll have like you'll have the meditative stretches where you're just holding your static stretches, but they got to be way longer than you normally think. They're between 2 and 5 minutes. And what you'll find is it's a different burn after than like 45 seconds. Like after about 2 minutes, it starts to nearly shake, or you nearly have to stay really breathing through the exercise. And eventually it kind of just lets go. But that doesn't happen at 30 seconds or 45 seconds. That happens way closer to like 2 minutes or 5 minutes of holding a stretch. And then the last reason that can be tightness is, use your words, is like spasm in the muscle, like foam rolling. You need to foam roll the area. You need to kind of get it moving that way. Okay, so they're the mobility issues. Then the second area we want to look at is stability. Okay, so then now you're looking at like the hip again, keeping the knee stable, a lot of times buckling in. That's really being strong at the hip, the balance work, focusing on keeping the knee, core. And that's where, for that guy with his arms coming out, most likely I'd say it's like a core stability thing. Okay, so with core stability, we're going to start with like our activations. So for you, again, I'd have the building blocks, which would be the main ones for you are going to be core. Okay, so there's 2 elements of core. The first one is like muscle endurance kind of / activation. So if you are new to Pilates, which I think you are, to our course, you're going to see that we get the muscles burning. All right, so you just need to get the muscles burning, like the glutes firing, the glute medius working. You're going to feel it in your core, and that's a big element of the program that we do. But the second element of core stability is learning to control your pelvis. So what core stability is control of the trunk over the pelvis to allow transfer of energy from the legs to the arms, or whatever the terminal segment is. So what that means is basically like, throw, everyone be stable here, and all the energy that I've generated come out the arm rather than just focus on the arm. Can I run? Can the energy I force here through my arms and through my legs be coordinated that my core isn't here? And I imagine if your arms are coming out wide, it's because you'd be rotating too much, but they're trying to stabilize, and that allows you to move a little bit more forward. So with that in mind, then you want to make sure that the muscles themselves are increasing endurance. They're getting stronger essentially. But secondly, with that, then you can control that pelvis and back position in various positions, so that it's not just you're just doing plank the whole time or Superman the whole time. It's like, okay, we're up doing crawls, we're doing side plank, we're doing half kneeling. If we have the weight, we coming across the body. We're doing single leg deadlift. Can we hold that position? We're doing a plank or a squat, but we're holding our core. So it's increasing the awareness and our ability to hold good positions as the second kind of thing to work on with our core stability. And then with that, then going on to say strength train and keeping that same thing. Because if you have a weight, can you maintain that core position as you're doing the exercise? So now you're moving through the hips, getting stronger through them, but you're also strengthening up through the core. So that's why when people ask me the best exercise to do for runners, I do love the single leg deadlift. But Laurie and David have been with me for a long time. Aisling, how are you? But
Hi there.
how are you getting on? We change, there's patterns. We'll use the sliders, we'll use the weights, we'll use the bands. We'll have some classes that are more on your feet. We'll have some classes that are more core heavy. We'll have some classes that are more the posture work. So you need to be kind of tipping everything. And in that way, you're giving yourself the muscle activation. So when people are oh, what are the exercises? Early on, yeah, your bridging is important. Your glute clams are important. Your Superman and crawling and that stuff is important. But as you go, it's changing the variation, and that's giving you all these different Lego blocks, if you want, so that your brain is able to when you're running, then find a more efficient way of doing it, because it can dial in different ways of contracting. And then we can take that from basic exercises on the ground to on all fours, to kneeling, to standing, and then to kind of strength training. And that's the kind of stability line that we'd be looking at. And then the last element is what we call motor control. So at the most basic thing with motor control, that's say when you see people, maybe they're not able to do a single leg deadlift or a squat correctly. Well, it's we want to make sure there's no mobility issues first. Then we want to make sure that they're able to activate the muscles. And then after that, it's just teaching them the technique, maybe holding on to something, getting used to doing that's where the back of our belt would come in as well. Getting used to doing the action correctly, getting that feedback of that's wrong. Okay, how do I move correctly? And learning how to do it correctly. And where does motor control come in for running then? Motor control comes in for running when, oh my God, this has gone on so long. Well, the other question is going to take me 2 minutes to answer. Motor control comes in for running when you're looking at, you're just doing strides. So we're never trying to change. I wouldn't be trying to change my arms out wide. What I would start doing is strides. What I would start doing is drills. So I might do a drill of to get the core activated, have your arms overhead with either just have them up with your hands, or have a dowel or something in your hands, and try not to have it rotate. Because if you're sprinting fast, you'll want to go like that, especially without your arms. And then you're learning how to stay solid as you're sprinting. Or you can do like high knees, bum kicks, cariokas, A skips, skipping forward. This is all just teaching like the mechanics that you're looking for. In particularly for the arms wide, it'll be your arms up strides, because you'll be turning, and because you've taken your arms out of it from giving that balance, your core will have to learn how to stay solid. And then after that, I would just do some like regular strides, because if you're going faster, your body, because you're trying to go faster, your body will have to work out the most efficient way to do it. When you're going slower and jogging, you can get away with being quite inefficient in your movement because you're not going that fast and you're going to be relying more on aerobic. If you're trying to go actually faster, your body's like, if I want to go faster, I need to get more efficient in how I'm moving. So yeah, that's the last one. So you're looking at all your drills. If you look on the loads of stuff on here. Okay, let's just go on the, I'll just show. So just to recap on that, first one we're looking at is mobility. You can get that here. You can do your releases here. So if that's spasm here, there's daily stretch if you want, and definitely the meditative stretch if the muscle is tight. And then the mobility routines and mobility and balance will be more like joint mobility and range of motion. So it's joint, spasm, or length. This one's for the spasm. This and daily stretch are for the length. These two would be for the joint. Then the next is going to be like stability. That's all our sports Pilates that we're doing. You can see, just as we said, like that's a circuity one. This one is more like single leg and sliders. This one is weights. This is a mobility one, again, kind of to add that in. This one's like mobility, stability, and power. So we're just challenging the core and the exercises we're doing in just various different ways. And there's gym exercises there you can do as well. And then lastly would be motor control. And we do this in our warm-up all the time. We'll just do our drills. And this is a long warm-up, or this one I'll just show you the brief one. Look at that for an angle, straight up my nose. All right, this is really long. Let me see if this will go like that. That looks better. All right. So like some stretches, and we're just doing, that's a great one I do for you. Lifting the front leg and just like moving the arms in that correct alignment. And then we're just doing our drills. High knees, see the way I have the arms up, trying to not let that core, and I'm just stretching on the way back. I must do a video, I've said this before, A skips. I'm going to just do a video on like a kind of drill routine. It's going to be a great day in November as well. We'll do that again. I don't even know if I know where that top is. If I know, I'll do it. That looks on either there. Classic Ireland. That's the same day, by the way, if you can believe. So we're just stretching side to sides, and then I have some others. I'll do a drill one, and I'll bring it in, and then just strides before your workout, or you can do some like drills before the workout. Look at that for it. That's like, usually looks crap. That actually looks quite good. So you get more efficient because you have to like teach your body how to do it. Okay, so yeah, that's what I would do. That's a long way of saying if your arms are out. I wouldn't try to fix that. That's not like, it's not a case of just bring your arms in. It's a case of, is there a mobility issue? Is there a stability issue? Is it a motor control issue? And fixing that issue will allow you to run more efficiently. Trying to just like change one particular thing and the way you want run will not work at all. Any comments on that, guys, or any questions on it? No, I'll take silence. It's like my my first year functional anatomy class. Just like I have my tree on a Friday or on Monday, and they're absolutely dead for it. Like, they're a lovely class, but they've had all day in, and they're like, dude, just tell us about this. Okay, Ashling, I think that's you. You sent me in a good question. It's a long one. All right. So just a general question on a 10 mile race I did on Saturday, Churchtown 10 miler. I did it in 2023 and 2024. Can't remember the 23 time, but got first. Well done. Time in 2024 was 118 and you won. Second last year, and this year I was 119 second. Okay, so like roughly the same time. A little bit slower, about 40 seconds slower. It was pretty hilly and a very tough run, but they changed course this year. And the night before, because of flooding, night before it was 2 rounds of the first 5 miles. This basically meant way more hills. I obviously went out too fast. I came through in 38:24, but the second half I was ashamed to say I had to walk 3 times. I've never walked in a race before. I was very disappointed in myself. I was actually pretty surprised that it was less than 40 seconds. It was less than 40 seconds slower than last year. Yeah, it's funny when you start dying or you're walking, sometimes you can think you're going to be way even worse than you thought. You thought it was going to be over 80 minutes, but you went 38, which is 38, which would have been a 117, which would have been a PB by about 2 minutes. All right. Yeah, and someone who you were running against was 7 minutes slower. Okay. I had a really good training block since returning from stress fracture and was back running by mid-May. I have a coach who's excellent. I run 5 days a week and I've had to accept that I can't do 6 days a week and I have to keep my mileage under 35 miles a week. Yeah, perfect. Otherwise, you get a fracture. I think that's great. You need to know yourself. 2 sessions in the week, warming up for a speed session every Friday or every Wednesday, and also a long run Sunday. I do a gym session 4 days a week and Pilates every week. Yeah, that sounds great. So my question is, what really went wrong? Was it just I went out too fast? I am usually good at pacing myself in races without constantly checking my watch. And on Saturday, I kept telling myself not to push the pace on the hills. I find if I keep checking the watch, I just get neurotic about it. Anyway, if you can answer it, great. If not, no problem. Yeah, I can answer it. Right, this is easy. There's a guy who has a great poem, and it's called like babysitting my nephew when the Kilkenny All-Ireland match is on, or something like that. It's a really long title, and then the poem is just bollocks. So that's like this answer is so, you kind of said yourself, like there's a thing called Occam's razor. The most obvious answer is usually the correct one, and the most obvious answer is, yeah, you went out too fast. The course was way harder, so why would you run faster? Okay, so but that's so easy objectively, but I've been in that loads of times, Ashling, where I've been like, oh God, like I'll tell you a good example. Like, for example, say if it's blowing a gale, if it's blowing a gale, I know instinctively in my head, I'm not going to be as fast. So like I should slow down. But if the reps are actually slower on the track, say, I'll be disappointed. I'll be like, oh God, or I'll be forcing it to hit the same time. Because I was like, I don't want to be worse than the last time I did this session, even though the conditions are completely different. And that's the same, like the conditions, like the course is completely different. So it's way hillier, and that's accounting for it. So the course is harder. So even if you ran this like a really good race, like conservative and came home, you mightn't run a PB because the course is harder. And then secondly, you went out too hard. You went out at 117 pace, which would be like basically a 2-minute PB on a harder course. And then you just came off a lot. Like, and that happens. The great thing, I'd be encouraged by that, is that like what you call like your floor performance has probably improved a lot. So the fact that you're walking or you're like basically gone, but you still come up with a decent enough time, that's a really good sign. Because it means that like your worst performances aren't that bad. The other thing is, what I find is if you bomb in the second half of a race, because you're not actually running that fast anymore, you recover really quick, and you might find just the next race, especially if you sound like you're in a good shape. You sound like you're in good shape. You'll probably do really well in the next race. Just keep the faith. You know you have a good coach. You sound like you're doing everything right. You just went out too hard. The course was harder. It happens, like you don't let the defeats go to your heart or the victories go to your head. That's what running is all about. I'm the master of that. The amount of up and down performances I have is unbelievable. It can usually just take me a race or two to get going, but I'd say you'll bounce back off that really quick. So the thing I'd be just looking for is get another race within like say 2 or 3 weeks, excuse me, a 10K, or if there's something good coming up. Yeah, I don't actually check. The thing about checking your rate, checking your watch, if you are neurotic, I think I wouldn't check it. I think I'd try start running on feel. So like for like a 10K or 10 mile, it should just feel like threshold pace. Okay, so I'd say I'd feel like threshold pace. The only time I did that was at 10K races. It's harder for me to balance, so I will wear my watch. But like any 5K, I don't wear anything lower than that. I'll just like go through the motions. You're doing a 10 miler. The problem for you, I think, is in a road race, like you're saying, like because it's hilly, like not every K is going to be the same. So I'd be worried that, like, say you had an uphill first mile and you're slower than you think you should be, and then the second hill is like level and you're still down. That one was okay, but you're still down on time. Are you going to, like, then say if the third mile is uphill again, are you going to like try push that too fast to get back on time? But the effort should feel good. So yeah, if I do, I try run on feel and effort, being feeling easier, like it's a threshold type effort for the first half, and then push through in the second half and see how it goes. It'd be worth trying that out for a while, for 1 or 2 races, and then you could see. The other thing you could do is just know that, like, I think for you, just if you are neurotic, I think you'll either have to go super into that and actually work out splits based on like the hills of like, okay, I'll be 5 seconds or 10 seconds down here because and then I want to be on split, and then there's a downhill mile 4. I'll take back 5 seconds there. On split, I'll be 5 seconds slower here, and then I'll pick it up because it's back down the hill. Or I just go on feel and wouldn't look at my watch. How do they sound? I don't know if you see hearing that. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, so that, hopefully listen back to that and hope that makes sense. Nobody's responding, so I hope I hope this saves.
I can hear you.
Oh, brilliant. I was going to say, what a finish it is. Just shouting into a cave. All right, I better go out. I said my brother-in-law has hurt his or he's just recovered from surgery on his elbow, so I said I'd go out and see him. So I'm going to leave it there. Perfect. Listen back to Aisling. Let me know how that advice sounds, and we can talk about it next week.
Thanks,
Take care, guys. Bye bye.